Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Long Beach City College Personnel Commission meeting for August 2nd, 2021. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're glad that you're here. We're going to go ahead and start by taking the Pledge of Allegiance. And Robert, do you mind leading us tonight?
No, not at all. Please stand. Put your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance
To the
flag
of the United States of
America
and to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Robert. We'll go ahead and start with the roll call. Robin?
Here.
Jeff?
Here.
And I'm here, and so we're all present this evening. Public comments on agenda items. Juliet, do we have anything for this evening?
No comments were received.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Aye. Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none. Robin? Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye, and that passes unanimously. On to new business, approval of eligibility lists. This is for Risk Services Coordinator. May I have a motion, please?
I will make the motion.
Do I hear a second? You're on mute, Robin. Still muted, Robin.
Second.
And is there any discussion on the approval of the eligibility list?
I'm so sorry.
No problem. Is there any discussion on the approval of the eligibility list for Risk Services Coordinator? Or Jennifer, do you have anything for us?
Yes, Janine. So we received 19 applications. Of those 19, 3 passed the subject matter expert review. 3 were placed on the eligibility list, and of the 3 candidates, 0 are internal candidates.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Jeff? We lost Jeff. There you are.
Wow.
Did you say aye or nay?
That was a glitch. Everyone just froze up on my computer.
Did you vote already, Jeff? Because we didn't hear it, or I didn't hear it.
Because I literally pushed me out of the meeting back in. So my vote is yes on that item.
Okay. Robin?
Aye, yes.
And I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to B, approval of the eligibility list. This is for Deputy Coordinator, Purchasing and Contracts. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And is there any discussion on this item, or Jennifer, do you have anything for us?
Yes, for this deputy director role, we received 7 applications. 4 passed the subject matter expert review. 4 were placed on the eligibility list, and none of those candidates were internal.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any additional discussion?
That's highly specialized, Jennifer. I'm surprised no internal candidates there.
Yeah. Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to C, approval of eligibility list. This is for Vocational Instructional Technician for Automotive Technology. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
And Jennifer, do you have anything for us on this one?
We received 8 applications for this recruitment. There was a written test through our vendor, IO Predict. 6 individuals passed that test, the written test. All 6 were placed on the eligibility list, and we're happy to report to our internal candidates.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's exciting. Great. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to D, approval of eligibility list. This is for Senior Multimedia Services Technician. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
And Jennifer, do you have anything on this item?
We received 12 applications. Again, a subject matter expert review, which shows we're really partnering with our hiring managers. 4 passed that step. 4 were also placed on the eligibility list, and 3 of the 4 candidates are internal.
That's wonderful. Great. Thank you. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Jeff?
Aye.
Robin?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to E, approval of eligibility list for parking services coordinator. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Jennifer, do you have anything for us on parking services coordinator?
Our volume of applications on this one was up a little bit. We received 23 applications, 11 passed the subject matter expert review. We did place 11 individuals on the eligibility list, and of the 11, 1 of them is an internal candidate.
Wonderful. Okay. And any additional discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to F, approval of eligibility list for facilities maintenance supervisor. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
And Jennifer, anything on this item?
We received 88 applications for this one, and of the 88 applicants, 7 passed the subject matter expert review. 7 were placed on the eligibility list, and of the 7, 1 was an internal applicant.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Jeff?
Aye.
Aye.
Robin? I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to G, approval of advanced salary placement. This is for academic administrative assistant. May I have a motion,
I'll make the
please?
motion.
Second.
And
Jennifer, what do you have for us on this one?
the minimum qualifications for this role is high school and 5 years of experience currently. The candidate's rationale is that they have a bachelor's degree in business and over 40 years of experience in a variety of environments. So they exceed the minimum qualifications. We also looked at internal equity. We have 10 incumbents in the AAA role. Of the 10 incumbents, 8 are well above step E due to the longevity steps, and only 2 internal candidates are at steps A and C. So we found that there would be no disruption to internal equity.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
I vote aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to H, approval of advanced salary placement. This is for another academic administrative assistant. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And Jennifer, what do you have on this one?
Candidate has a bachelor's degree in mathematics with a minor in business and accounting and over 12 years of experience. The same internal equity analysis was performed as previously mentioned.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Jeff?
Aye.
Robin?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to I, approval of advanced salary placement for administrative assistant. May I have a motion on this item?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Jennifer, what do you have on this one?
Minimum qualifications are high school and 4 years of experience. The candidate does have a bachelor's degree and extensive experience. Of the 23 candidates that currently hold this position in our organization, all are above step D except for 3. So placement at salary step C is comparable with internal equity.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed something there. My air conditioner turned on. I apologize for that. I missed the part. You said you had 23 incumbents and they were all above?
They're all above step D.
Step D.
With the exception of 3 individuals. Those individuals are at step C, A, and 2 are at step C and 1 is at step A. So salary placement at step C, when we look at overall internal equity, is the rationale provided supports that.
Okay.
Anything else, Robin or Jeff?
No.
We're good?
We're good.
Okay, thank you. Hearing and seeing no additional discussion. Robin?
Aye, I vote aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to J, approval of advanced salary placement for senior office assistant. May I have a motion, please?
Make the motion.
I will second.
And Jennifer, what do you have on this one?
The minimum qualifications are a high school and 2 years of experience, and the candidate has close to 2 years of experience working as an LTE in our organization at LBCC. They also have 5 years of secretarial experience. We looked at internal equity here as well. Of the 5 incumbents, 1 is at step B and all others are above step B. We have steps D, H, E, and H respectively. So for internal equity purposes, step B seems appropriate.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any additional discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to K. Big, exciting night for us. I feel like we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to review and receive and review the classification study recommendations and classification specifications, batch 1, first reading. This is for our AFT, of course. Robert, you're out there, I hope. You're on mute because we can't hear or see you. There you are. I just want to make sure that you're able to fully participate here. So this is going to be for Jennifer. And if you'd like to go ahead and start, Jennifer.
Thank you, Juliet. I was just going to ask you to pull that up. So I figured the easiest way to review, I mean, we've presented a lot of data in front of you, but I want to give you a high-level overview of the steps we've taken to reach this point today and how we're going to proceed. So we're currently in the notification process. So we have noticed in the months of May all the way through July, last month, we noticed members of academic affairs, student services, and the superintendent president's office. We did notice 260 employees in those 3 areas. We do have some outstanding notices to continue sending, which we will be doing through the month of August. We also plan on adding to that list administrative and business services and also human resources. In the packet that employees receive, which we will show you, we're going to walk through the notice so you can see the sample. We include a letter that has their individual allocation, which is their position outcome for their specific position. We also include a draft of the job description, and we include specific instructions on the appeal process so that the employee has a right to communicate to HR and to their direct supervisor, anything that we need to know before we go through this 3-step process. The appeal process does say per the PC rules, from the moment that the employee gets that notice in their hand with their job description, they have 1 week to provide input to human resources. Now, this process doesn't stop after that 1 week. We use that information to reach back out to the direct supervisor just to make sure that objectively analyzing the information that's being presented to see if there's anything that's changed since the notices went out, since we had conversations at all levels of the organization, and just really to be mindful of anything that we have to consider before a final recommendation. We did negotiate a 3-tier appeal process. Now, I do want to say that we negotiated the process with Robert. So Robert agreed that employees should be given the opportunity to provide feedback on the class spec. That's tier 1. If they just want to give input on, hey, you missed a few duty statements, maybe the scope of work, we can expand on it in this way. Can you revisit the title or maybe some of the duty statements? It's just edits that they want to see to the job description itself. But overall, the scope of work we've presented aligns with what they're performing. Tier 2 is when an employee says, you know what, I really think I'm doing the work of this specialist role, or maybe a senior role, or maybe I'm a program manager and you haven't accounted for that. They let us know an existing class title that they want us to analyze in relation to their position. So that would be considered a tier 2. Tier 3 is reserved for a public hearing. It will be in cases where we go through that appeal process, either level 1, level 2. We provide a notice to the employee saying we've made a decision. We're either maintaining, the recommendation. We may change it in a few cases. If they are unhappy, they still have their right to appeal at the Personnel Commission. What we want to do is, for the sake of time, should that happen and be necessary, we want to just capture anybody who falls into that tier 3 category so that we can prepare the commissioners for that coming to the commission. So again, HR wants to continue partnering with managers and supervisors and also employees to make sure before we go through these 2 readings at the commission and make final recommendations that we're being mindful of any information we need to look at. So the approval process before we can implement, today we have batch 1 before you, and it's really the first reading. And the first reading is just to present the information. We happen to have 6 weeks in this case before we're going to go through a second reading. Currently, we're scheduled to do our second reading in September 13th. That's because we have a meeting August 16th, and then there's just no meeting until mid-September due to holidays and so forth. So that gives everybody at all levels time to look at the first reading, the recommendations, and 6 weeks to notify HR if we have to again look at anything. At the second reading, we will be asking the commission to accept the recommendations as presented. And if you approve them after that second reading, then we can go ahead and start to make the changes. And let's see, it's important to note, we also noted this throughout our the letter that we send to employees. We're really trying to pin down the classification phase of the study first. And so we have not made recommendations related to compensation. That will be phase 2. So next page.
May I ask a quick question, Jennifer? Were the employees notified by mail or email or both? And was there any follow-up by the union to make sure that everybody is aware that that notice had come out?
So we've tried to communicate with employees in a number of ways. We send their notice through Adobe Sign, and we'll review the notice together. Not only do they get the appeal instructions, but they have an acknowledgement form on page 3, so they can acknowledge that they accept the recommendations as proposed. So that's one step. We've also been invited to a few drop-in sessions with AFT. They have a lunch hour where we've presented, I believe, on 4 or 5 occasions. I know in February, in March, I believe in June, we skipped July. And then we skipped June due to the SERP. So it was May and July. So we've presented at least 4 times, just periodic updates, letting classified staff know the same. We're going to go through this process. You have appeal rights. Please be sure to exercise those rights if you have anything that you want HR to be mindful of.
Perfect. Thank you.
And can I, on that last slide, can I ask a question?
Can we go back? Yes, thank you.
So when you said, and just for clarification, when you said that this is batch 1, is batch 1 of how many total batches are we dealing with?
So we anticipate 2, no more than 3 batches. We, just for the sake of time and to be able to show progress, we did ask the commission if we could bring the report in pieces or batches as we're calling them. So that's the reason I'm calling it batch 1. We anticipate no more than 3.
So, and I know going back when a long time ago when we did the reclassification a long time ago on a far off galaxy, it was one of the reasons I like the fact we've broken it up a little bit is it's a little bit easier to manage. That was one of my real concerns about running it all at the same time. I just thought it would be easier. And the fact that in the past, doing it externally, having an outside consultant do it as well. So I think this is going to be easier to manage for people and hopefully not miss things. The next question I have though, not on the batches, but on the PC approval process, on the last paragraph in there, we talk about, there's a reference in there to the salary, the compensation. Have we got clarity on that finally? Because again, in the past, I don't know if it was a set rule. I just know that it was all combined. It wasn't broken out into 2 segments. But have we got some type of direction or understanding of how if we are using the compensation package separately, the timeline, the process of what that's going to look like, have we got that even started, or do we even have clarification on that from some previous directions and meetings?
So the good news is, because we're doing this in batches, once we've gone through the 2 readings, then we can start to look at the initial salary analysis that we've started to perform based on internal equity. So there's 2 ways that we can look at compensation: internally, which would be the reclassification process, and through negotiations down the road, where we would potentially go to the labor market and do a salary survey. So the first step is to go through the classification piece, agree on the levels, agree on the titling, agree on the allocations. And then if there's reclassifications, we can see where the movement within our existing structure would be based on internal equity.
So are we then, are we the Personnel Commission given the green light on this, that we can indeed move forward? And the fact that it has to do with salary, it's not, and everything has to be approved by the board, but there's always that question. Are we then, we've signed off, it is good for us to go and work on this. That's my number 1 question. That's an internal question that we were discussing. And then 2, if one of this process that we can start to develop a very clear timeline. And the reason I'm bringing it up is just because I know the process has been long and lots of things have happened, but I would just like to let people have a better understanding within the classified staff that here's the timeline when you expect some type of closure. That's the only reason why. When we get to this, if we indeed are given the opportunity to move forward on the salary compensation, just so we develop a plan that everyone can see that we're going to have timelines. And that's just my only observation. And if we already have done it, thank you, but I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I haven't touched the compensation piece just yet, so I can provide an update at a future meeting, Jeff. In terms of timeline, a specific time, I can't commit to anything currently.
And only because from historically and a lot of other factors, they were all combined at once. And so then we knew when it was done, but in this scenario, it's going to be longer. And I know we talked about not letting it drag on too long. That's why we're doing the internal component. But anyway, once we get there, to develop at least a timeline with deadlines for people, so they know there's an end to this process. So that's my only observation on that. And then the question you answered on the batch 1 of potentially 2 or 3. Thank you.
And we've been strategic with the way that we've batched the notices. So for example, we have a broad classification that I'm going to use as an example, the administrative support series that exists all across the college. So we handled that group together. It didn't make sense to, hold off on, let's say, administrative and business support services, an administrative assistant or senior administrative assistant, or a AAA, which only exists in academic affairs. We looked at the whole series together for broad classifications. And the classifications we've batched together are within a department. So we don't foresee any unintended consequence of proposing these changes in another area. So I just wanted to refresh really quickly. I went over this presentation in February. It was posted as a PC agenda item, but just the key definitions and allocation again is the individual case or outcome for each employee. There's a few possible outcomes, which there could be no change. We're basically maintaining the scope of work. We may clean up some of the formatting of the job description, simplify really long duty statements, add one duty statement, but overall, the scope of work remains the same. So there's no significant change. Where there are significant changes is in the reclassification category. So significant change could be due to title. We could have increased the minimum qualification so that the career ladder is more clear. There can be a reclass in the employee group. So moving somebody from AFT to management, which we did in a few cases. You can also reclassify somebody from one existing level in our structure to another existing structure. So through the appeal process, as an example, there may have been somebody who was an administrative assistant who appealed saying they were performing work at the senior level. Based on the evidence submitted, we were able to validate that they were performing at a senior level. So we were able to make that reclass suggestion. It's really important that even though we're making all of these changes to the job descriptions, current incumbents aren't going to be held to the new standard. Let's say for some reason it goes from high school and 5 years of experience to an associate's degree and 2 years of experience. The current incumbent's not going to be affected if they do not have that degree level. They'll just be grandfathered into the new class. So I thought we would look at the administrative support series as a quick example. Here, it's just a summary of all the minimum qualifications and a hyperlink to the job descriptions. But if we go through, you'll see that there's an entire series. So what I've done here is just to give you an idea of the process that we went through in meeting with Robert, and meeting with managers, and meeting with the VPs. It's something that I like to call calibrating our titles, our levels, our titles, and our minimum qualifications. So it's really just looking at what is working from left to right. The first column represents the number of employees that were impacted. How many people are in this title today before we make any changes? What do we anticipate as a study outcome? Again, are we maintaining it? Are we reclassifying it? How are we reclassifying it and why? And then really looking at the level. Is it entry level work that's being performed? Is it more journey level? Journey level being more autonomy, for example, in decision making. Advanced journey level roles tend to be more complex. And then the experts would be at the top of the career ladder. So this is just an example of how we have the executive assistant to the superintendent president. We have a board secretary. You have the executive assistants. We have 5 incumbents in that class title. We have senior admin assistants in HR that are in unique titles. We have a single incumbent position of administrative support specialist. And then you go into the administrative assistant series, the academic, the AAA, the senior, the AA, and then senior office assistant and office assistant. You'll look at the proposed title. In some cases, we thought we don't need highly specialized titles. At the end of the day, these individuals are performing work comparable at the executive assistant level. They're representing a department head. The decisions they make have enterprise, impact. They work with a high degree of autonomy, highly complex confidential cases. So again, looking at some of the distinguishing factors. Then we took the existing minimum qualifications, the next column. The job descriptions in some cases were written oddly. They would say high school and an associate's degree. Generally, we want one threshold for education requirements. So we cleaned that up. And then we just made sure that the progression made sense, that as you move up the ladder, there's more skills required for the job. So if you can see in the proposed MQ column here, it starts with really entry level, then you go into associate's degree, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and 7 years to again show that career progression. So that's the example. Any questions before we move into the notice that employees receive so you can see a sample?
This is beautifully laid out, Jennifer. Thank you for doing this.
I do have a question. I noticed, and this is a specific question, so I'm just curious. I noticed on your position from senior administrative assistant, HR mandated costs, you switched to executive assistant. And I noticed prior to that, they needed the associates, but 5 years, but you bumped it to a year. Are you going to give us like an addendum to tell us why it went from 5 to 6, or are we to make just generalized assumptions?
Sure, I can give a summary per class title if that would be.
I don't need to get into the weeds. It just looked different to me. So if you have a generalized answer, that's fine. I can accept it.
So the senior administrative assistants in HR, they serve the AVP, and then they serve the executive director. So again, a department head in Juliet's case, as an example, also working with the personnel commission, so an external board. Everything that we touch in HR has enterprise impact. So we felt that that was more aligned to the executive assistant role than the senior administrative
Thank you.
assistant.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So now if we could pull up the notice, I'd like to walk you through what the notification process looks like. So it's on district letterhead, of course. We did send it electronically. We sent it through Adobe Sign. It's a 3-page document. It leads in right away, just saying what the purpose of the study is. It hyperlinks to Chapter 3 of the PC rules and regulations, so they can click on that and explore the rules as they see fit. We do a crosswalk between what their existing class title is, what's being recommended, what's the outcome? Again, are we maintaining it, reclassifying it? And then the final proposed classification. It does talk about the compensation piece being secondary. We really wanted everybody to focus on, is this the work that you're performing? Before we can talk money, we really just want to pin down, is your title appropriate? We wanted to make sure there was titling consistency. So for example, if there's an executive director, it's appropriate for a director to report to that level. If there's a dean, it's appropriate for directors to report to that level. But what would be next in line after a director? An assistant director. Is that consistent across the board? Why do we have associate directors in some departments and assistant directors or deputies in other departments? So again, just really looking at the levels and the titling and standardizing that where we could. We also created an appeal process, which was online. They were able to click on this link, fill out a very easy form, 10 questions. Of the 10 questions, 7 of them were just demographic data. So really 3 pointed questions about why they were asking for an appeal. Scroll down, please. We communicated the 3-tier process. We said you can fall into one of these first 2 categories right away. If you do believe for whatever reason you're not satisfied with the level 1 or level 2 review, we can have a public hearing at a later date and time, which would be a tier 3, which we're reserving for a future PC date. It does say in the PC rules they have 1 week, and that's just to keep the feedback flowing. Again, we want to make sure that before we make a recommendation for an entire classification, that all of the positions have submitted some form of feedback. We do re-emphasize that appeals require objective rationale and evidence to support the request. So we did see that employees submitted supporting evidence and documents, which was really helpful. And that before we can make any changes in the system, even if we reach a final approval, it does take some time to make all these updates in the HR system. So just having everybody be mindful that we'd have to manually go in and work in PeopleSoft and NeoGov to reflect all of the changes that we agree at every approval level. On page 3, is the acknowledgement form. And so the employee had the option to say, I acknowledge receipt of this recommendation, or I plan on submitting an appeal. They sign it off. Again, the possible outcomes of the study, which have been communicated throughout, are listed on this 3rd page to reinforce the message and the reminder that the current incumbents will not be held to increased qualifications. Scroll down, please. And I believe that's it. So any questions about the appeal notice and acknowledgement form?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
My question is for employees that don't know how to maneuver through this, even though it seems fairly easy to me. What about an employee who might be having anxiety? They don't know really what to do. They don't know how to fill out the form. Are they able to go to HR or to go to AFT? Where can they go for support?
Absolutely. They can reach out to Juliet or myself. They can reach out to the union if they feel more comfortable going that route. But the individuals who've reached out to us, we don't mind sitting down and walking through the class spec and answering any questions that they may have.
And so how would I know that I can come to you or to go to AFT for support? Because that's important to me. How I want to know that the employee has been communicated to know that if this isn't enough and you need to come see me, that you can. So how have we communicated that?
That's a good point. It's not clearly outlined in the notice, and we can update that moving forward. We're happy to add that.
I think that's a great idea.
I'd like Robert's input. Robert, what are your thoughts along you and Donna? Because ultimately this is a big, huge thing, and they have 7 days to respond. So what if I get the willies? I get this form.
They just have to respond by checking a box, you'll see, and then the process starts. It just means that they said, yeah, I plan to appeal. I've read it, I want to appeal it. And it goes to the next stage where they start communicating with either us if they want. We'd be more than happy to help. Most people like to deal with, from so far, seem to want to deal directly with HR. So we're there to support everyone. Whenever they want help, we're there for them. But you're not having to come up with an argument in the beginning. You just need to tell them that you plan on submitting an appeal.
So you feel confident that everyone knows how to go ahead and go through the process?
Well, they've reached out to us, the ones that didn't, and
okay.
we point them in the right direction. So we've gotten calls over time, and we try to, like I said, direct them to HR to do this, that, and to put out an appeal, and we help them whatever they need that after they get to the part where, fill out the form within the week and check the right box so you can move forward with it. And we'll support you all the way.
Okay, thank you.
And Robin, we've had employees reach out to HR and say, my direct supervisor is on vacation for the next 2 weeks. There's no way that we can get this in a week. And we say, okay, well, review it, give us your initial feedback. We will definitely meet with your supervisor. Thank you for the heads up that you want to appeal. And so we've had those conversations. We've also sat in on the AFT drop-in sessions and offered support during those lunch hours.
Jennifer, historically, we've had some challenges with people getting the appeal process, but saying that they didn't know that they were under the clock. In other words, they didn't know that they were within the week, and then they run over and say, I didn't know. Do we have a way of, when we do this process, will we have a way of tracking that, yeah, they opened that email, or yes, they got the signature available, whatever the case may be, so that we can kind of defer that problem?
I do not believe that we set the read receipt, but Juliet, do you happen to know that? Yeah, we didn't.
No,
we kept it more open-ended as an acknowledgement form. I just
want to throw that out there because historically that has been a problem. People saying, I didn't know I was in the window of a week, and then they come in afterwards. So
now I will say that everybody we've noticed so far happens to be primarily those individuals who work in an office setting that likely have computer access, regular computer access. But we do have to be mindful of, for example, when we notice facilities, anybody who works out in the field, making sure that we double and triple check that they've actually received their notice.
Yeah, I think that's where the biggest problem is going to be. Additionally, the last time we did this, technology is not where it is right now. So people were less competent and less aware of what they needed to be doing for the steps. So I think we should be a little bit better off, but I agree, when they're out in the field, it makes it a much more difficult situation for them.
And again, that 1 week deadline is really just to keep the information flowing into HR. When we have 30 incumbents, 10 of them have submitted the acknowledgement forms, 10 submit the appeal forms, and then we just haven't heard from the other 10. It really holds up our ability to be able to make a final decision.
Right.
So that 1 week is, I don't want to advertise it as a soft deadline. We certainly want to work with individuals, but we need that in order to keep this process moving along.
Sure, of course. Anything else on the report, Jennifer?
No, I just wanted to make sure that I know we presented a lot of data in that attached spreadsheet. We, again, with the concept of doing a crosswalk between what currently exists, what we're proposing, how the minimum qualifications are changing, capturing a snapshot of who submitted an appeal and what's pending and what decisions have been made. We are open to feedback if there's an easier way to present that, but Juliet and I have been synthesizing and trying to simplify, I should say, the data as much as we can before we present it. So thank you. Thank you for any feedback in advance.
Comments, Jeff, Robin, Robert? I just want to share that I think you guys have done a tremendous job. I know this was an extreme amount of time that you two put into it, if not more of you. And I want to acknowledge how much I appreciate that. It makes me feel so good to see it at this point that we've progressed so much in the amount of time that you've been with us. And so I want to thank you for that. Thank you, Juliet, also, because I know you had a big part in it as well. If we don't have anything else on that, we will go forward to 3, the Personnel Commission announcement of intent to reappoint commissioners appointee to the Personnel Commission. This requires a motion and a vote, and it's a vote that I will not be participating in it because it's about me. So may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
You're on mute, Robin.
I have 50 clocks, so I try to keep you guys from hearing them all ring. I'm so sorry. I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item?
None for me at this time.
None.
None for me.
None. Robert, Donna? Donna's giving us a thumbs up. Thank you, Donna.
Okay.
Okay, hearing and seeing none, again, I'm recusing myself on this item. Robin?
Yes, ma'am. Are you looking for my vote?
I would love to have your vote.
You have it. I vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff?
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. I am deeply honored, deeply, deeply honored. Okay, that moves forward.
Janine.
What?
Janine, you've earned it.
Oh, thank you, Robin. Thank you.
Just now, because prior to the vote, I wanted to stay very clear that this process is unique in many ways. But you know, there was this was decision by the way the rules and regs. It's where the 2 appointees, the appointee of the trustee, board of trustees, the appointee of classified staff. It is those individuals' decision. It's not one that is made by a group that then their representative moves forward with it. Obviously, there's input, so noted, but and also just for clarification, I know I had the conversation with Jennifer as well. I was always just concerned about any whether it be real or not, about Brown Act violations, because it came up and it's a very legitimate concern about transparency. So just for the record, there is no conversations that took place on this item. It was all internally, individually, and then this vote was the first real public comment on the decision. So yeah, and I'm very pleased with the outcome. Thank you.
Thank
Jeff,
you, Jeff.
I appreciate your comment, Jeff, and I will go ahead and also confirm that there were no violations of the Brown Act. We honor and we have an ethical consideration. I do want you to know I did ask for some historical information because I am new to this commission. And so there's some history that I do not have. I did ask for information from Human Resources. It was provided. And certainly, while I am here to represent, I have to look to what the work that we have to do. And Janine, the institutional knowledge that you bring to our group is very important. We are going through a very important classification study right now, and I know we're coming towards the end, but you're needed. You have valued input, and we need that. And there are some things that I would like to see some changes going forward that you and I have just cavalierly said, you know, there's so much more we could be doing. And so the three of us, you, Jeff, and I, have a lot of work to do. And we have to stay the course. I think this is a good decision. And Jeff, I am glad that you brought up the fact that this has been a very transparent decision. So, thank you.
Thanks to both of you. I couldn't ask for two better people to work with. I've really recognized that not only do you have tremendous value in your experience with the city of Long Beach, with Long Beach City College, with many outside groups, with Robin, with your personal work situations. And I have learned so much from both of you and benefited so much from both of you, but I really enjoy working with you as well. So it's such a wonderful honor, just such an honor to look at you on a screen. And when we get back together, we'll have that comfort of being in the same room, but thank you, I really appreciate it. And working with Robert and AFT and Donna and the entire board, Juliet, Dario, I'm extremely appreciative and deeply honored and grateful. Thank you so much. I know this isn't the end of the process, so I am very aware that there's more things that will be happening in our future meetings, but thank you for your support tonight.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
Janine,
With that,
Janine,
Jennifer.
yeah.
I had the pleasure of learning a little bit more about your background and your commitment to the Personnel Commission over the years. Would you mind sharing with the public how long you've been involved and a little bit about your background?
Well, I've been on the commission for 15 years now. So it seems like just yesterday that I got on it, but so it's been 15 years now. I am a graduate of Lakewood High School.
Oh, wait a second. Wait, Lakewood.
I know you're a Jordan guy. You're a Jordan guy. This is where Jeff puts up his hand a lot.
Yeah.
Next, I'm going to say after Long Beach City College, then it was SC. Sorry, Jeff.
Reconsider the vote.
And then I got my master's at Cal State Long Beach, and I went on and got my credential at Cal State Fullerton. I got an administrative credential from UCI. So I've been to a lot of local institutions, and I worked in education for 35 years before I just retired 2 years ago. I was at Long Beach City College for 10 years as an instructional associate and as a part-time teacher in photography. And I worked at El Camino College prior to that in photography as well, and also as a part-time teacher. And then 22 years at Los Alamitos High School as a teacher. I served on many executive boards for the union at all of those different levels. And I think that was why they originally came to me and thought that I would be a good choice, is because I had that really broad educational and union background. So I've been on both sides, academic and classified, and appreciate and value both equally. I'm here mostly for the students and the community and the staff. There's nothing about this job that is for me to benefit other than my own enjoyment. So I just want to thank you all so much. It's a deep honor, and thank you. Thank you for letting me share that, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
And we need to thank Jennifer also. Jennifer, thank you for doing a lot of the work on this process.
Yeah.
I talked to
a lot of background work.
Thank you.
Communicating about 6 months ago about because it's something that doesn't show up all the time. So, and also to the point where with Robin and I, where we were talking, and just because we were so conscientious of making sure there was no allegations of or inappropriate communication. So Jennifer really did take the lead in communicating and explaining the process individually, and that is really important because so many times processes get hijacked or distorted. So Jennifer, thank you very much for taking the time and the energy to deal with this issue.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
In terms of timeline and next steps, so we start this process on or about July 1st, but it looks like we have a public hearing held on the books for September 13th. And then we that will put us well above the September 30th deadline of making a public announcement.
Great, thank you. I look forward to it.
Good.
Okay. Thank you all so much. On to our information items. Our next meeting is Monday, August 16th, 2021 at 5 o'clock via Zoom. And closing items, comments from the staff. Jennifer, what do you have for us this evening?
I just wanted to quickly announce that the Return Safely to Campus work group moved the date from August 1st for classified staff to return to campus to August 30th. Just being mindful of our fluid situation, you know, the variants, and also just giving us more time to think through the administrative steps and bringing employees back safely to campus. I also just want to echo what you said earlier, Janine, and give Juliet a special shout out. She has been my right-hand person, my road dog with this class study. And it's been a lot of work, but she's a great teammate and just a great anchor in so many ways. And so I really appreciate her. She is really to thank for a lot of the progress that we've made. And then I also want to give a shout out to May. She, our lead HR specialist, leading recruitments right now. I mean, she is reliable and a hard worker, and she's been putting in a lot of work to get over 20 recruitments to the commission over the last couple of months. So May, if you're listening, I really appreciate you as well. And one last just special thank you to our HR manager on the classified side, Chanel Acker. She has worked with the team to make enhancements to our online requisition process. We've been able to do away with several paper forms that were duplicate forms, reduce the number of fields in our requisition. Everything's being done online. Many of the steps have been automated. So from an efficiency standpoint and just, again, making progress, I think the team is doing exceptionally well. So I'm proud of them.
Thank you, Jennifer. On to comments from the commissioners. Jeff and Robin, what do you have for us this evening? And Robin, you're on mute right now.
That's because I'm deferring my time to Jeff.
Okay.
Thanks. A quick question, Jennifer, you and I discussed this between the last meeting and this meeting. And I think it's always important because, again, today we had a lot of discussion on, out of class, people trying to explain that to individuals on why it is happening, the process we take, when people come in. I don't know if you want to give a quick answer and summarize when you and I talked about it. Just because when we get our agenda and we see this on a repeated basis, we've talked about this in the past, there's just the concern of people, why are we having so many out of class? And then those individuals, then the compensation and how we get there. The reason why I think we're all really sensitive to this issue. And because for lack of better terminology, you don't want people to feel like they're being overlooked. But I don't know, Jennifer, if I've caught you a little bit on that one, but just because, again, I didn't really find anywhere during the agenda to really ask it about, hey, explaining all our out of class appointments and what's going on, the salary compensation, et cetera, and what our limitations are and how we come to that. I mean, maybe for a future meeting, we want to hit on it again. I just think it's important that we are constantly on record of asking those questions and making sure that people don't feel it's just become, it's just not a normal business for the college. We're doing it because of special circumstances, but it just seems like there's an abundant number of those. And I think both Robin and Janine have raised it in the past, and I think it's a legitimate question. So if you want to take a slug at it now or just for a future meeting, if we want to talk about it again, just so people know we're keeping an eye on that at all times.
I would prefer,
Jeff,
excuse me, Jennifer, I want to come in. Jeff, I prefer if we were to take that to a separate meeting, because I really would like to have a broad report on this. It is something that we've brought up and mentioned, but I really want to get into the weeds because that's in my, actually, you can't see it, but it's in my notes to discuss this because it's it's waning on me. And so I'm going to be looking for a lot of information, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. So you may want to put a little time on an agenda for this topic, because I do have some concerns.
And I can give you just a quick response, and I'm happy to set an agenda item on that. But generally, a working out of class is in 2 cases: when there is a vacancy due to just attrition and we're running a recruitment. And as we know, the recruitment process can be anywhere from 45 to 90 plus days, depending on the type of recruitment. So a vacancy that requires a recruitment. And then we do have several cases where an individual's on a leave of absence. And so it leaves that position open, but we cannot permanently fill it for whatever reason. You know, we're holding that position for the person that's on leave. And so we work an individual out of class in that case.
And
then the other,
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Sorry, Robin.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Just the other point is with a lot of times on how we have to recruit and the compensation for those individuals sometimes, because to recruit, well, it's like most human beings, they'll ask, well, what am I going to be paid? And so you have to compensate them to attract them. And so all these factors just sort of come in. And that's why, and Jennifer and I had a long conversation, and that's where I just seen it again. And I think we just always wrestle with this issue and, you know, how to best address it. And not only address it and understand it, but also so the people within the college community here at Long Beach City College have a comfort level why it's taking place as well. And I think that's just important. And that's what may be for something to be agendized in the future. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Don't be. It was bothering. The conversation needed to be had. So I appreciate you broaching the subject, Jeff. And I definitely want to delve into this. And especially since my knowledge may not be where yours and Janine's is. And so I do want to talk about why this occurs, how we plan to manage it. And it may be something we need to just discuss further. And I do want to discuss advanced salary placements as well. So that goes hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea. Jennifer, can we go ahead and agendize that for a future meeting, not later than a month or 2?
Absolutely.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
And I have no comments at this time. No additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Robin, for your input. I just want to reiterate, when I looked at the agenda on Friday night, I don't know if anybody else was monitoring this, but I was getting a little nervous on late Friday afternoon and then going, oh, are we going to not get our agenda out? It came late, and I'm sure after everyone looked at it, they realized why it came out so late. It was very extensive. That was a lot of work. That was so much work for Juliet and for Jennifer. And I just want to reiterate, thank you to you, both of you, and thank you to Robert and Donna for all of their input, because I know they had a lot to do with what we're rolling out for the reclass. And that's a huge thing. And so thank you to all the staff that have been working so hard. When you look at these agendas, you recognize how much is happening behind the scenes. And I really value that. So thanks to all of you. I just wanted to have a couple questions, but shouldn't be answered tonight. I'm just, since we have our COVID situation that's so fluid, and the board just made some new announcements of policy last week with vaccinations or testing, for a future question. Are we still going to be returning in October? I realize that we may not know that until October. And are we going to require testing? Or vaccination? I've been vaccinated, but are we going to have participants coming into the room with the same requirements? And are we going to allow people to have online participation? So Jennifer, those are just future questions. Again, I recognize this situation is completely fluid. I'm just trying to think a little bit to the future to make everybody's life easier. I don't want somebody to walk up to the door, especially when we have appeals coming in. And then all of a sudden, oh, sorry, we can't let you in because you don't have a test on you, or you don't have your vax card, whatever the case may be. I don't want that to be a cause for concern for the employees. So just thinking ahead, and those are my thoughts on that. With that, now I've lost my agenda. It's vanished.
I will
Um,
respond generally to a few of the comments that
sure.
you made, Janine,
Please.
which is
Sure.
we're currently discussing rolling out a program for self-declaration forms to identify the employees who have been fully vaccinated. So there is a plan to roll that out, and HR is going to be leading that effort. And then we also have had conversations in our reopening, our safely reopening work group, that for those who are not fully vaccinated, what would be the requirements for those individuals? For example, testing on a weekly basis. So that way, they submit some form of proof that they've been tested weekly. So that's currently what's being discussed. And then similar to our events that we're gonna hold, like our professional development day, we're thinking about a hybrid approach. So having a space on campus where individuals who are comfortable can come in person, but then we also allow individuals to participate remotely as well. So I think to your point, future meetings, we could consider something like that, if technology allows for it. I got to ask Dario first.
Yeah, Dario's the control on that one. We should ask Dario first. Thank you, Jennifer. That's helpful. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to think to the future because I don't want to get to October and then say, oh, wait, we just kept an entire group from participating who wanted to be here. Public comments on non-agenda items. So we're looking mostly at Robert and Donna. Does anyone have any public comments on non-agenda items for this evening? Donna's shaking her head no.
No.
Robert's shaking his head no. Okay.
Just want to say that the process we set up with Jennifer is to give everybody an option to review their study and make any changes they feel that were incorrect. We totally agree that everyone has their fair time to, dispute whatever they think is correct, because no one knows their own job but themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole point of that whole process, to give everyone a fair chance to answer that. And everything else has been moving slowly, but moving at least. I think we're almost halfway there. So I'm looking for the end of it to get moving too, but I'm happy we're halfway there. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, anyone else? All right, as always, I thank you all for being here. I thank you for your input and your transparency. I appreciate your support, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Our next meeting is August 16th. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Good night.
much. You guys take care.
You too.
Stay safe, everyone.